Hello, thank you for hanging with me. My name is Dr. Sari. Have you ever heard that you can create the life that you want through manifestation? Today, I have a very special guest, Minister Albert Eaton Bey. He's hanging out with me today. Minister Albert Eaton Bey has been a strong force in the Brooklyn community. He has been a civil rights leader in the mid-60s. He's helped numerous of children learn how to read and write and graduate from high school. He once owned a jazz bar named Val Hal. He also owned numerous buildings here in New York City, and he also owned a laundromat. But his most valuable hat is his knowledge of metaphysics. How are you, Albert?
I'm doing fine, Dr. Sari.
Thank you for hanging out with me.
I want to thank you for having me here today to do this interview. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Albert, so how did you get started in metaphysics?
Well, I have my mother to thank for that. What I'm doing now started back when I was 9 years old. My mother went to a storefront church in Harlem on 147th Street and 7th Avenue called the Uni Center. And the senior minister of that center was Dr. Eric Butterworth, whose headquarters was in Utah. And what he taught was that we are as God is, and God isn't in us, God is as us. That one word, in versus as, makes a big difference in how we pray.
For those who do not know what metaphysics, can you give us like a brief explanation what metaphysics is?
Well, the world works in a certain way, and that certain way that the world works, they call science. So when we think, there's the science of the mind, and that science of the mind has been called metaphysics, mind science.
Wow. And how does one like start to manifest things? Or how can, like if their world is like feeling in despair, how can they basically get out that despair?
The first thing you have to do is learn how to pray. Now, whenever we say our prayers, we say, Dear God, and we're praying to God. But God is us as us. So when we pray, what comes out of our mind is put into that creative modality, and our life begins to change. But we have to know that we create our life. Our life just doesn't happen. So therefore, we use our life and we imagine what we want, and then we get into the feeling of having it already.
Is that how you obtain like your buildings and um your your bar?
Yes, well, actually, I saw myself as a businessman. Now, the friends that I had, many of them had soul food restaurants. And in order to have a restaurant in New York City, you have to have a liquor license. So the first thing I had to do was to get a liquor license. So I found a gentleman who could help me do this, and I got the license. I got the license, and I had to hire special lawyers who worked with the state liquor authority, which would do a background check on you to see that you have a good record, And then if your record measures up, you'll be issued a license.
Well, I know in that time period, especially being a minority, being African American, it was probably even harder to get the license.
Well, getting a license in New York City is hard for openers. For a person of color to get one, that's a miracle if it happens. So I was fortunate enough to have a miracle happen in my life by getting this liquor license.
And how do you feel about like life itself and like everything that's going around? And I know everybody's like, you think about it, you visualize it, but then, you know, the rent is here and some people may not have that, the rent. So therefore they can't visualize. Their thoughts are all negative. They continue to think of the negative. How do you like not think of the negative and continue to think in a positive state?
Well, the first thing you have to do is to write down what you don't want on one page and get the second page and write down what you do want. And after you write down what you don't want, don't think about it again. Just focus on the page of all those things that you want, and then you pray from the consciousness of God, knowing that you can have anything that you want. And with that attitude, life will happen to you in certain ways. You meet new people. You might meet a lawyer. You might meet a friend. But if you focus on what you want only, it'll happen.
Okay. And so basically writing down will help you to keep focusing on what you want.
Right.
Okay. Are there any other tools that you can give to the viewers on how to keep manifesting what you want?
Well, there are many mentors out there that you can hook into. There are books, there are videos on YouTube. There are two mentors that I know of who are very easy to listen to. And the first gentleman's name is Bob Proctor, and the second man's name is Jim Rohn. And start with those two, and they will mention other people, and then make a record of all of this, and just do it every day and every night. Every morning you pray from the consciousness of God, knowing that you have. And every night before going to bed, you pray, knowing that you have. Because God is you as you.
That brings me to another question. What I hear you always talking about I am. Why is I am so like really like godly words or something not to be used lightly when you say I am?
Well, like everything else, God has a name. And the name of God is I am. So when you say I am, you are bringing out the energy of the reality that God is you as you. Now, we know that God can do anything. So if you learn to believe that God is you as you, whatever you want on that page, it's got to happen. It may take a month, it may take a year, it may take many years. In my case, it took me 12 years to manifest the jazz club that I had. I didn't realize that I had put it into my subconscious mind. I only know one day I said to myself, I want to own a club like a club that I know about in Harlem. And 12 years later, I wanted with a bar. And I says, wow, I manifested this. And I felt great.
Wow. That's really exciting. Yeah. So, Albert, are there any last words you want to give the viewers before we end this,
Yes.
before we
I will
leave?
give you some final words, and I want to keep it very simple.
Okay.
Learn how to pray. Pray from the consciousness of God and not to God, because God is you. You have to pray from the consciousness, knowing that if God is you as you, you can create anything you want. Learn how to pray.
Oh,
Those are the 4 words. Learn how to pray.
okay. Albert, just in case anyone wants to get in contact with you for mentorship or some advice about metaphysics, is there email or telephone number that you can give us?
Yes, you can use my email, which is eatonbey@gmail.com. EATONBEY@gmail.com. My personal phone number is 917-755-7740. Just call that and leave a message on my voicemail and say, my name is so forth and so on. I am looking for a mentor. Please give me a call.
Okay, and I'll put that in the description to your number and your email address as well. Thank you, Albert. I really appreciate you taking your time. I hope to see you soon. I hope we can have another conversation so we can get people making the life that they want or creating the life that they want.
Well, I want to thank you for having me today. I enjoyed answering those questions, and I'm looking forward to doing this again.
All right. Thank you, Albert.
Okay.
Bye-bye.